Hi, everyone. So we're back here again with the Japanese company of Helios, the Helios Distillery out of Japan, which makes the branded Teeda rum. Now, Teeda actually means sunshine in Japanese or in the dialect down there in Okinawa, which is kind of nice because Helios, sunshine, Teeda, kind of all comes together really nicely. Now, previously, I had talked about the 21-year-old that I was really quite enthused about. And one of the things that I commented on it was that there was always this suspicion I had that the fermentation had a little bit of that koji mold that they used to make our moris and shochus. And I can't quite get away from that, right? Because there's a certain characteristic of Japanese rum. The Seven Seas was a perfect example of that, that went so far off the reservation that they were just like on another planet altogether. And I always had a problem with that because I just didn't know how to address that. I needed to taste more Japanese rums to try it. If you really wanted to get a normal rum profile with a Japanese rum, you're probably best off going with Nine Leaves if you can find anything from them that they still have available, because of course they've closed down now and Velier bought all their remaining stocks. Teeda is a really good alternative in the sense that their aged stuff, their 5-year-old is quite decent, their blend is quite decent, but the white, the unaged white was the Kiyomi, and I've tried that before, but to my surprise, I found this one in Calgary. And it's a 40% white rum, which they simply call Teeda White Japanese Craft Rum, 40%. And there's a comment on the backhand that says that it's they use condensed sugarcane juice, which is called cocotu, which is something that like panela in Mexico, right? So it's unrefined jaggery, if you will, unrefined sugar. Pot distillation, aged in American oaks. That's this one, right? So it's a white rum. So what's it doing being aged at all? But it's not the unaged version, which is the Kiyomi. It's this one, which is probably a bartender's back bar mixing rum, except that it's been aged a bit and probably then filtered. 40% is going to be doing very much to you, but let me tell you something. This rum has got some weird freaking taste. Now, most of the time, what I'm getting from this is a certain amount of Coca-Cola, a little bit of green apples, pears, watermelon, and so on. But behind all of that is the Hogo. And there's a lot, even at 40%, which really surprised me. Now, I'm doing this at first thing in the morning, very early. So my nose and my palate are still absolutely fresh. So 40%, I can get the maximum out of it, which is a habit I have, right? But what I'm getting out of here is potato peel. All right, a lot of it. And not just any old potato peel, but potato peel that's been standing in the sun for far too friggin' long. And that's the part that always makes me think that there's something else going on here in the production process that we poor Westerners just don't understand. Now, over and beyond that, you're actually getting some very interesting nosing notes as well. There's a little bit of, pears, fruits, and so on, a little no caramel, but a little bit of vanilla, I suppose. You really got to strain for that. And there's a little bit of Coca-Cola there in the background that kind of is hinted at, but not driven home with a bludgeon in any sense. Tasting it, let's try that. Okay, so here it gets a lot better. It's much more balanced than the nose was. So you're getting quite a bit less of that potato peeling or the rotten vegetables kind of thing. You're getting actually more of a miso soup kind of vibe here. A little bit of kimchi, a little bit of fermented cabbage, vegetables, that kind of thing. Balanced off by a really nice series of very light fruits, especially pears and green apples. And overall, it leads to a finish that really comes down quite nicely. At 40%, it's not going to damage you in any way. So you can absolutely sip it neat if you're into that thing. I'm not a cocktail guy, unfortunately, so I couldn't begin to tell you where this kind of profile fits, but I leave it to more professional mixologists to advise you on this one. So scoring-wise, what am I going to tell you? I would score the nose at about 78, and I would give it that much because it's original, but I would take it down below 80 because it doesn't quite work. That mashed, that raw potatoes kind of thing just doesn't work. On the other hand, I would score the way it tastes. I'm going to take a little bit more. Yeah, I would probably give this about an 83, 84. So if you're going to average the two, you're going to come up with an 81, 82 point score. But just keep in mind that there is a divergence between nose and palate that you really have to take into account here. And my strongest recommendation for Western rum drinkers is absolutely to try and see if you can get a sample of this first. Because if you spring, I bought this for 50 Canadian dollars, it'll be cheaper wherever you are. But if you spring coin on this thing and you get disappointed and you says, well, fuck, man, Kenner, what are you doing telling us this shit? Don't say I didn't warn you that it is a little bit strange. It's a little bit off the beaten track. And if you can taste it, please try to do that first before you spend the money, because it is different. And just because I like it for those very same reasons doesn't necessarily mean that you who've got better things to do with your money want to waste this kind of money or spend that kind of money at all. Right? I mean, that fails the Stewart affordability conjecture because you're not getting the value that you expect. So just take that note of caution. It's not a warning, really. I think you would enjoy it if you're really into your rums. But if you're going into rums for the first time and you want to try something with Japan, this is probably not the one. You'd probably be better off going with like Nine Leaves or some of the other more common brands that you can find. So that's about it for today. I'll leave it there. Please let me know if you have any comments, as usual. And we're going to do some other rums from Canada, I think, next. And that will be for the next few days. So have a really nice weekend, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.